for another wonderful episode of our continuous topic on continuous improvement this month in the PI SIG world. And I would like to bring to you today two outstanding professionals. We have Keisha Slaughter,
Hello.
and we also have the most esteemed Mr. Calvin Williams.
Thank you so much.
All right. So, as we always begin, I would like to start with Keisha and just state your name, position, company, and industry. And before we get into that, I'll introduce myself briefly. Monique Lake, I'm the communications director for the NSBE PI SIG. So, I just wanted to put that out there for everyone. So, Keisha, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Name, position, company, and industry.
So my name is Keisha Slaughter, and I'm executive director at JP Morgan Chase.
All right. Thank you. And Calvin?
Calvin Williams. I am the CEO of Improver Inc. It's a continuous improvement software company.
All right. Welcome. All right. So, Calvin, I will ask you my first question here. How did you get into this line of work?
Well, if you ask my mom, she'll say I've always been in it, always looking for opportunities for improvement, and ultimately, the greatest continuous improvement project you can ever do is the one you do on yourself. So,
Mhm.
being an athlete and constantly looking to improve on performance and results and those kind of things, and going to school for industrial engineering at University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and then started my career as an IE. And I started at Tyson actually. And they didn't have a continuous improvement program per se, but I'd known about it. I studied in the school, studied Lean and Six Sigma and those things, and was super curious and really couldn't get there at Tyson. And then Nestle reached out and they had a CI leadership role available. So yeah, I had to, I wanted to learn, I wanted to go there and took that opportunity. And that sort of was my foray into continuous improvement. I've been there ever since for the past almost 20 years now.
Wow. Okay. All right. Oh, you must have started when you were 5. Right.
Yeah, you could say that.
All
I would
right.
say even before that, arguably.
Sounds awesome. So,
Yeah.
Keisha, how did you get into this line of work?
So similar to Calvin, I studied industrial engineering. I went to Northwestern University and just really kind of fell into it as well. But I would say most of my friends and family would say that even though I just kind of fell into it, that it became and is a perfect fit because I am constantly
Mhm.
identifying improvements, both within myself, when I travel. I swear if I had time, I would solve all the world's problems with TSA. Um, and, spend lots of time in the airports and consulting roles and just thought, okay, I could fix TSA and make the lines way better.
Oh yeah.
But, I started my career at UPS, and, UPS was certainly a company that is and continues to be all about efficiencies, and we were constantly looking to improve, constantly make a better customer experience, and constantly get your packages there quicker and cheaper and faster. And so just really honed my skills there and really enjoyed it, fell into it, and just continued to grow my career through consulting, and even found that those same skills, although I didn't realize it at the time, are, you know, great for financial services as well.
Mhm.
Um, because there's so many electronic processes, so many customers that we touch, and having that process improvement mindset has just really proven to be very fruitful in financial services as well.
Wow, that's outstanding. So I would definitely you know, see that your skills have been transferable through
Mhm.
different industries across your career. That is outstanding. So Keisha, while I have you here, I'll go into question 2.
Okay.
What lessons have you learned along the way in your respective career?
Oh man. I think the biggest lesson I've learned is trust but verify,
Mm,
Mhm.
and really that ability to ask questions, question the data, question the process. It's easy to go into an operation or for someone to say, oh, this is horrible all the time,
mm.
or it's not a problem ever. And if you don't ask for data to prove either one of those, then you may miss out on finding that opportunity and finding out where the true um, pain really is in the process. So it's like, yes, I do a lot of interviews, I ask people a lot of questions, I talk to a lot of people, but to me, and maybe it's the engineer, the numbers don't lie. And so, I need to see the numbers to prove that it's either going great or it's not.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's awesome.
Calvin, how would you answer that question? What lessons have you learned along the way?
I will say there's two secrets in the sauce to from for my success anyway. It's number one is planning. I had a great conversation with a good friend of mine, actually a mentor of mine, and if I can give a third, having a mentor is my third secret. But
Mhm.
got a great mentor. He had a conversation. He says, Calvin, if your business was super successful and you made $1 billion, what on earth would you do with all that money? And it went to a direction of luck, and how the role luck has already played in my life and the success I've had.
Mhm.
Um, but also to take advantage of luck, you also need to be prepared. So I would say the secret to the key advice piece is be prepared, right? Look forward, look at what you want to accomplish, be clear about your purpose and intent, and be prepared for the things you're stepping into. Even at a daily level of stepping into meetings, be prepared for those meetings, right? Come ready with data, to Keisha's point. um, but back to the conversation of luck is, yes, I could say that I worked hard and I did everything right. I didn't, but I could say that I did, and I can brag about my accomplishments. But the reality is, with all of my work and hard work and preparation, um, luck was also there too. And luck is created by other people's visions, other people's projects, other people's work creates luck for you. So, in order for you to get lucky, you need to be prepared for when those opportunities do present themselves. So, I would say that's number one. Number two is that when it comes to solving problems, and as CI people, that's a big part of our world is solving problems as industrial engineers as well. Any type of engineer for that regard is, the people closest to the problems are also the ones closest to the best solutions. So
Mhm.
if you can get to the people who got their hands on the work every day, they're probably frustrated by the problem every day. They're probably doing stuff around the problem every day. There's a dang on good chance that they already got some ideas. They already kind of know where to start toward addressing the problems. So go to the source. In Lean, we say go to Gemba,
Mhm.
but I'm a big fan of going to the people who are closest to the problem and getting them involved right away.
Outstanding. And I
Yeah,
suppose networking, of course, does play a key
yeah,
role in everything that you said,
big time. Yeah,
networking people
absolutely.
and all those aspects. So if you had to give yourself advice about your line of work, what would it be?
It would be around, um, first of all, show up, be prepared,
Mhm.
have a mentor, and also get a coach. Get a coach.
Good point.
The things in my life where I've had the most success, even achieving results that otherwise I could not even imagined, have been times where I had a coach, and times where I was, yeah, I always, had the motivation to go do it. But motivation only gets you so far. The coach can take you a lot further than that, than you can ever go on your own. So I would say that's also a big piece of it.
Interesting point. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Keisha, what would you say about advice that you would give yourself in your line of work?
Yeah, I think one would be when you're at the table, make sure you make it count. And that's speaking up, that's asking questions. Like if you're invited to a meeting, if you're invited to a call, someone, thinks enough of you and thinks that you have value, like make sure you make it count.
Exactly.
And the way you make it count is being vocal, asking questions, sharing insights. I'm introverted. I've worked hard to make sure I have certain techniques, but it doesn't do myself any good. It doesn't do anyone else any good for me to be silent in meetings. Now, you don't want to be the person who just talks to talk,
Right.
but you want to be very thoughtful and make sure that while you're at those tables, you're making it count and you're being vocal. And then I think the other one that I would say is, I definitely agree with Calvin on the preparation, is the thinking about when you show up to meetings, when you show up to things, what is that brand that you want to portray? When
Yep.
you're there or you're not, what do you want people to know about you? And, and I think about it, I love Diet Cokes. They're consistent. I can go Columbus, I go to Memphis, I go to California. Everywhere I go, I get a 20-ounce Coke. It tastes the same. And so when you think about that brand, like what do you want people to think about you? And what do you want people to associate with you? And so that's part of how you show up. That's how you show up in social media. That's how you show up in meetings. That's how you show up in emails, and making sure that when people think about you, there's something that they think and have associated with you. And then I think the last piece I would say, the advice is to make sure that you're getting a healthy amount of variety, either through different roles, through different projects, through different companies, etc. Because part of the value of being someone that's looked at as a continuous improvement specialist and professional is your ability to assess and ask questions and really get up to speed. And sometimes if we're stagnant or we're complacent in one place, then we don't build that muscle of continuing to question and continuing to look at things differently. If I go the same way home every day, there's not a lot of thought process there. But if I'm taking different routes, then I can evaluate, is this route better than the next route?
Right.
How long does it take? But if I go the same way, then it doesn't require me to do a lot of thinking and processing. And so the more variety you get in your life and the more variety you get in your career, then that will help you continue to think about how you look at new situations.
Excellent point. Now,
Man,
Keisha,
fantastic. Powerful.
Keisha, I have known you for quite some time, and introvert is not a word I would use to describe yourself. I learned something new today.
I am. I really am. I have worked hard to not be the stereotypical introvert, but I definitely, if left to my own devices, sitting on my couch with my blanket, watching Netflix whole weekend, I could do that. My friends sometimes don't allow me to do that, so they bring me out of my shell. So I've learned, how to coexist with you extroverts. But if left to my own devices, it's just me in my head and in my own world.
Wow, excellent, excellent. So I'll start with Calvin on this next question. If you had to think about a greatest contribution that you have had on your area of focus, what do you think that would be?
That's a really a fantastic question. I would say the single greatest contribution is the work we're doing now with Improver. We've we've essentially made it where every continuous improvement leader or professional can be 20 times more effective with the help of cloud-based technology. And
Mm-hmm.
we've created an acceleration program to go with it. So if you think of the technology like the tracks that the train rides on, you can think of the accelerator like the gasoline that goes in the engine, right? Um, and through this work, we've almost redefined or reframed continuous improvement uh, as the discipline needed to make some improvement every single day. And
Interesting.
that's sort of what we've built a technology around that. We've built a coaching program around that, and that's what we're educating the world that continuous improvement is not just go do a project one time and you're done, or we've trained everybody on this tool and we're done now. It's building the fitness, and as a former athlete, fitness is a big deal, right? It's building the fitness to show up every day, wake up out of bed in the morning and think about, hey, what's the next improvement I'm going to make today, and go out and actually execute that improvement. You might have to work across functions, you might have to work end to end, up and down the value chain to get that improvement implemented, but it's just the practice and the habit and the routine of, hey, I need to make an improvement every single day, even if it's a 1% improvement. If you do the algebra on that, 1%, 300 raised to the 365th power is 38 times better results. Is not many businesses putting up those kind of numbers. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at where Toyota is trying to go with continuous improvement and some of these other world-class companies, they're all trying to engage their people in continuous improvement every day. This is the North Star as we've redefined it or reframed it in a sense for continuous improvement. So I would say this is our contribution, is to build the mechanism and the system, almost like a plug and play system to help get your company going in that direction without a lot of trial and error. Let's just call it.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So, Keisha, back to you. What do you think your greatest contribution would be in your area of focus?
I think the biggest contribution um, is really around for me, and it's a bit outside of my day-to-day job. I'm extremely passionate about really helping people, and I know this will sound extremely geeky, helping people fall in love with that.
Mm,
And for me, it has been one of the it was really one of the first loves for me, and I've just seen how it just helped transform my life, how it helps me solve problems both professionally, personally, financially, etc. And so being able to help students, I do a lot of volunteering, helping students that are interested in STEM, kids that are not interested in math or science, but trying to get them excited about it.
Yes.
And, for me, it still is a continuous improvement. Like I see a gap that our country has around students and their math and science skills. And for me, it's how do I become part of that solution, and how do I help continuously improve how kids, how parents, how teachers are thinking about
mm.
Exactly. Love that answer.
it. And I
Love.
know
So,
as a science teacher, I
Oh,
know,
yeah.
you can think about that, and how impactful it is to just think about how do we help transform our country and think about math
Yes.
and science differently.
mm.
Yes. So, Keisha, while I have you here, my next question goes into what do you think your greatest strength and greatest opportunity are in your career?
I think my greatest strength is really being able to, I would say I definitely probably outwork most people.
Mm,
And for me, it's a matter of showing up every day, Kevin mentioned, prepared, understanding what's going on. And so it for me just manifests itself in being able to really have a high level of expectations for myself,
mm,
um, because of the work that I'm willing to put in. I think my greatest weakness is I think it's a occupational hazard. I'm constantly looking to improve things. And so constantly looking to improve myself. I'm constantly, I go to restaurants. It's, obviously pre-pandemic, but,
Right.
I'm analyzing there like, oh, this would be a better process at this. Like I'm on vacation doing it. My friends are like, stop it. Like, we're not doing this today. Like, no, I know the line is long. No, you're not going to overanalyze this. You're not going to bring the manager out. You're not going to tell them how their process should be better. I'm like, but if they did, this would be a better thing. So for me, it's just one of those occupational hazards where I can't turn it off. I think it has
Yeah.
always been a part of me to look at and think about how to make things better.
Yeah.
And I'm hard on myself because I'm always like, oh, I could have did this better. I should have did this. So I think that just becomes an occupational hazard of truly thinking about continuous improvement all the
I can definitely relate. I can
time.
definitely relate. It's hard. It's hard to
It's hard
turn.
to turn it off. It is hard
It's
to
so
turn
hard
it
to
off.
turn it off. But we have to have balance as
I
they
know. I'm terrible with that. I am terrible with balance.
So, Calvin, what do you think your greatest strength and opportunity would be in your career?
I can definitely relate with Keisha. I think
Uh,
I think all CI pros have that in them, that tick that says, you know what, there's some things, there are some things. So, but I would say for myself, more specifically, is that I'm certainly a very future oriented person. And I think my gift creates my curse. It's a gift and a curse. So my strength creates my weakness. That's maybe true for a lot of people. Is that yeah, I'm someone who can see things before they happen and then do what, break the mold, break the status quo, break the existing infrastructure to create that new thing that in my mind is just like infinitely better, right? And that's my strength, right? Being able to, and that makes me a planner. That makes me a sort of a strategist. Growing up in South Chicago, there aren't a lot of great positive role models. I didn't know what industrial engineering was until I went to college and decided I needed to pick a major. That's when oh snap, that's a thing. So, um,
Yep.
yeah, but
Same here.
yeah, you're right. So, as a kid growing up in an environment, where in some areas the life expectancy is like 21 years, right?
yeah,
Um, and then saying I'm going to be something much different from what I'm seeing around me every day. You got to have that vision, right? That ability to see what's not there and believe in it enough to commit yourself to it 100%. The contrast of that, though, the opportunities behind that, and my wife can speak to this in great detail, is that sometimes you don't take care of you don't tighten every bolt of the moment.
right.
You don't necessarily, you can neglect some things that most people would expect everybody to do every day, the basics. Sometimes those things get neglected because I'm living 5 or 10 years into the future and thinking, all right, I'm gonna just not do that, and I'm gonna do this because I know that one day that will be taken care of. Or the way I've sort of dealt with it is by surrounding myself with people who are very organized in that way, right? To help cover those bases, but also can see the vision for the future and can help contribute to that too. So that's been my that's a good assessment of my greatest strengths and weakness. I would say they sort of feed, they sort of create each other, right? In a sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Keisha, my last question, I'll start with you. How did you get involved in NSBE, and in what ways do you think the organization has helped to shape your career?
Wow. Man, it is such a true, I think, blessing. Honestly, I don't even know another way to describe it. I started at Northwestern, and I was an economics major my freshman year, and I thought at that point in time, I wanted to become an attorney with really the goal of becoming the next Thurgood Marshall Supreme Court justice.
Mm-mm.
Like that was
Wow.
my goal.
Mm.
And it had been my goal, crazy enough, since I was 5 years old, because I loved watching Perry Mason with my grandmother.
It's awesome.
Yes.
And, but I had this 18-year-old crisis that when I went to college, of realizing I really did not enjoy writing a lot, and I knew I was never really great at it. I've always struggled with writing, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't enjoy it, and realized in college, like, oh crap, I'm going to need to write a lot if if I want to become an attorney, and
Mm.
particularly if I want to um, do anything within economics within the College of Arts and Sciences. And so most of their coursework included a lot of papers.
Yeah.
I did not want to do a lot of papers.
Mm.
So I'm like, what do I do? At the same time, I had joined NSBE purely because every Friday they had pizza, and I hated the food on campus.
Yeah.
Needed to eat.
I needed to eat, and I
The
loved
drawing.
pizza. So I met a lot of friends like my first week there who were engineers. They're like, oh man, every Friday we have pizza.
Mm.
Sign me up for that. Like, and so even though this is when I was an econ major, but hey, college students like to eat free food.
Mm.
So I joined NSBE, just enjoy kind of going to the meetings, obviously the pizza, and got the opportunity. Somebody dropped out of going to the NSBE National Convention,
Mhm.
and I got a chance to take their spot, and went
Mm.
to the convention, and my world completely changed.
Mhm.
And I saw, I mean, I was from Memphis, so I grew up in a predominantly Black neighborhood, predominantly Black city, but going to Northwestern was certainly not that experience. So
Mhm.
going to NSBE was like a mecca,
Mm.
and just got a chance to talk to a number of recruiters at the career fair. At that point, I was in this crisis of, I don't know what I'm going to major in. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Can't go home and tell my parents that, because that
Right.
will definitely not end very well. So I need to figure this thing out pretty quickly before spring break. And so, talk to them. And I really wish I could find and remember the company or the recruiter, because I would love to write them a note today. But um, talk to them, and he really asked me questions about what you like doing. Tell me some of your strengths. Similar questions that you asked me today at 18. I'm rattling off like, oh my gosh, I love math and this. And he was like, have you ever thought about being an engineer? And it's weird because even being in SB, I hadn't thought about majoring in engineering until
Mm.
that moment that he asked me that. And so, I truly credit NSBE with absolutely transforming my life,
Mm.
absolutely helping an 18-year-old clueless student figure out and find this career that was a perfect fit. I just didn't realize it at the time, that it was a perfect fit. And so, most of my friends I've met through NSBE.
Right.
Most of the jobs I've gotten have come through NSBE or some kind of NSBE connection.
Mhm.
And it just has helped just add to my life in so many ways that I'm always team NSBE. I'm always willing to help a student, talk to a professional, whatever, because it really was one of those pivotal moments that helped put me on a completely different track.
Outstanding, outstanding. So, Calvin, I will ask you the same last question. What has been your NSBE experience, and how has the organization helped you mold and shape your career?
Monique, you might want to go back and edit this and put Keisha's answer after mine, because there's no way I can follow that up.
Come on, Calvin, you can do it. You can do it.
that's that's a phenomenal story. I really admire that, actually. So my story started back in undergrad as well. I was fairly new into my discipline, industrial engineering, and a gentleman by the name of Anthony Williams. He was an upperclassman, so to say, and I was actually running track at the time while doing industrial engineering, which is a whole different animal.
Wow.
Um, uh, and I just did track for a few years because it got to a point where I was missing so many classes that teachers were docking me for it and stuff like that. So I just decided, hey, which one is going to take me farther, right? Engineering or track? And I decided, engineering is probably going to take me further, knowing that I was probably going to be a businessman at some point
Mhm.
all the way through and through. So, um, but anyway, this gentleman Anthony Williams, he was actually the president of our University of Nebraska Lincoln chapter at the time. Really great guy, sharp guy, just well put together. And as a underclassman, I just kind of looked at him and said, "Wow, that's nice. I would love to do that at some point." And there was actually a professor, Stephanie Adams, I believe her name is,
Yeah.
another phenomenal person, and she was like our chapter at the university, chapter sponsor.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I joined as a member and learned a ton. Got introduced to a lot of industry people, industrial engineers out in the field, leaders in the field of operations, and just really opened my eyes. Like, wow, there's a lot you can do with this, right? And being African American, I think makes it even more pronounced because you're sort of you're blazing a trail, really, right? Not just in the university, but out in the real world, as an engineer. Um, so the next year, Anthony moved on. He got busy with his postgraduate work, and they said, "Hey, we need a new president." And I reluctantly put my hand up, thinking, "Yeah, maybe I could do this. Let's give it a shot and see what happens." I'm always open for an experiment, and I was elected actually the president in 2003, I believe it was, and we had a really great year. And Tandria Bellamy from UPS actually came to visit us at the university, and she became one of our corporate sponsors.
Mhm.
And later that year, we actually went down to Dallas at to the national convention. This was a year Free and AJ were hosts. I don't know if you know, remember
Wow.
AJ from 106 in Park.
Yeah,
Actually, Free was the host that year. I
I
wonder what she's
didn't
up
know.
to now. She's a great person.
Mhm.
Um, so that, yeah, that just kind of made me fall in love with NASB, really. And since then I've sort of been busy working, busy building my life at home, at work, and everywhere else, and just kind of keeping an ear out for NASB. And as of recently, Diamond Williams,
Yeah.
who is heavily involved with NASB in the SIG, the process improvement SIG, actually reached out and asked me if I wanted to speak. So gave me the opportunity to actually speak at the most recent convention as well. So that's been my Nestle story. I got a feeling that is about to turn up after this, which I'm excited to do because I think, like I said, before I got into college and got into industrial engineering, I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen an IE that I knew that's what they did. But I think us as professionals in this space need to do a lot better at reaching back and mentoring and coaching and that kind of thing. So I'm certainly looking for opportunities to do that, and I think NASB is probably going to be the first place I look for that opportunity. So
Outstanding. Well, I just want to wrap it up and thank both of you for your time and expertise today. And we just thank you for giving back. And it was wonderful having this opportunity to speak with you all at this level and learn some new things. And I think our members will definitely be appreciative as well. So thank you. Awesome. Awesome job.
my
Thank
pleasure.
you for the invite.
Thank you.